What's up, guys? It's Bean, and today we are tackling a long-standing issue that's at least been going around in my mind for a long time, and that is, which game is better, Titanfall 2 or Apex Legends? Before we begin to compare these two games, I'd like to point out that I make Titanfall content as well as Apex content, and if you're new to the channel, check out my other videos. I actually had just played Apex for the first time, which that video I posted a week ago, and that one's a fun time. I had a fun time making that video, and it has some funny edits in there, so if you're interested in that, go ahead and give that a watch. And without further ado, let's compare these two great games. Starting off first, we're going to start with the new game, Apex Legends. I'd like to start by saying that Apex Legends is the first Battle Royale style game that I actually enjoyed playing. A lot of the problems that I have with it are minor, but they are more centered around the Battle Royale genre as a whole rather than Apex as a game. But what makes Apex so fun? The first major praise I have for Apex is its combat, which all starts with the guns. The guns in Apex, or most of them at least, are imported directly from Titanfall 2. I'm a big supporter of this decision because the guns in Titanfall 2 each have personality and function in pretty unique ways, which makes guns more memorable for the people using them. Some guns play very differently from others, and it's fun to mess around with different gun types and find the type that you enjoy using the most. For example, I'm not normally a person that picks up a sniper because I have terrible aim, fun fact. If you've watched my Apex video, you probably figured that out by now. But I actually played a game, and I should have this game on screen, where my teammate actually handed me over a souped up triple take, and that was one of the most fun times I've had in Apex. Just the triple take. Never thought I'd like it. One of my new favorite guns in the game. I mean, sure, it's really good, so, I mean, you can call me scrubby, but, you know, I'm just trying out new things. Adding on to the cool gun designs, most of the guns in Apex are viable, too, with a few exceptions. Poor Mozambique. We love the Mozambique here. Anyways, with a few exceptions, I don't feel like I lost a gunfight because my opponent's gun was so substantially better than mine that there was no possible way that I could have outplayed my opponent. There are definitely guns that are better than others, as with every shooter game. But the fact that you can seamlessly swap to your second weapon allows you to strategically sidestep weaknesses guns have by using a different weapon with different strengths. For example, the Sentinel can bully people from long range with a 70 damage shot, but it can be hard to use in close quarters where people are strafing and crouching all over the place, so it's smart to keep a shotgun or SMG as a backup for close quarters gunfights. Speaking of gunfights, Apex has a longer time to kill, so when I die I feel like it's my fault or that I got outplayed, rather than thinking that the opponents landed 3 lucky shots and therefore that's why I'm knocked. Most of the time in a gunfight, you'll have to make use of both weapons that you're carrying, and it's extremely hard to get a one clip on someone because of the time to kill being so high. The additional movement makes aiming in this game a skill too, so adding in crouch spamming, jumping, and strafing can prevent you from losing more gunfights. Another thing that can help you with gunfights are legend abilities. Each legend allows you to switch up how you play the game with their unique abilities. It's unfortunate that you don't get to play every legend once you start the game, but it's nice that once you get 12,000 legend tokens from leveling up, you can at least buy any legend you want, rather than getting a random one. Although some legends are much better than others, it's nice that Apex can give you a legend that caters to your playstyle. For example, I'm more of an aggressive player, so I've had the most fun playing Bloodhound so far, but there are legends like Gibraltar that are big tanks and they're better for more defensive players. Or if you're a tactical player, Watson is a fun legend for you too. Since Apex is a team game, you'd expect it to be hard to play in pub lobbies without the boys, but somehow Respawn found a way to make it work. Although having a microphone is helpful for communication, the elaborate pinging system in Apex makes it easy to quickly communicate with your squad without having to plug in a mic. I especially love the feature where you double-click the ping button to mark where you can spot an enemy. This helps your team all be on the same page in terms of where the enemy is, which can help you from getting spanked in a gunfight. However, like I said, I think the Battle Royale system of gameplay is flawed, and Apex is no exception. If you get knocked, you're left as a sitting duck, and if you die after that, it's unlikely that your teammates will be able to get your banner and revive you, especially in pubs. It has happened to me, and it feels really good when you get revived, but most of the time, when you're knocked, you're probably screwed. When you die, you're stuck spectating, which isn't all that fun. I will say that the higher stakes in a gunfight make each kill feel much better, but it can be annoying if you're the one guy in your squad that gets dropped and you're stuck there waiting for a revive. Also, the process of looting can drastically slow down the pace of the game. There are ways to bypass this by dropping in popular areas, but there are often gray periods of time where I'm just running and slide jumping without seeing anyone. I will restate that the gunfights in this game are fun, engaging, and can last for long periods of time, so often I do find it worth the wait. Another thing I'd like to add is that being third-party kinda sucks. But also, that's just part of Battle Royale games as a whole. It's gonna happen to you. Someone's gonna see a gunfight, drop in, and then just pick you off when you're down. But, you could just outplay them by getting out of there better, Overall, I think Apex is a solid game. For someone who normally doesn't enjoy Battle Royale games, I was pleasantly surprised when I tried Apex. Although I definitely have a few nitpicks, they mostly come from Battle Royale games in general. But how does it stand against Titanfall 2? Stick around to find out right now. To be honest, as of recently, I haven't been a huge fan of shooter games. Sure, I've had fun playing them with friends, but I didn't really play them on my own because I enjoyed platforming games. Then, I met Titanfall 2. This highly movement-based game turned the platforming aspect of games that I enjoyed playing into a shooter game. But how does it compare to the newer, fleshed-out Apex? Let's sort out a few differences. Most Apex players believe that Apex is a highly movement-based game, which is true. But Titanfall 2 makes that slide hopping in Apex look like some bootleg baby bullshit. Most of the movement used is simple in Titanfall. Running, jumping, sliding, and wall runs, just to name a few. But combine all of it and add in some more advanced tricks like bunny hopping and air strafing, and you have pilots breaking the sound barrier while shredding any enemy in sight. Using bunny hops to maintain speed feels so smooth when you pull it off, and it looks sick when you parkour all over the place. Even the maps are purposefully designed for pilots to be able to use the buildings in order to parkour. Because of the high movement, the pace of each game is high as well. Your time to kill is insanely fast, which requires you to be good at movement so you can spot enemy pilots early and so that you can evade people shooting at you. 90% of the game you're fighting against something, whether it be a pilot, minions, or giant machines of death, better known as Titans. When in your Titan, you substitute your nimble, agile movement as a pilot for raw strength and firepower. Nothing gives me more joy than roasting enemies like fish fillets with Scorch's Inferno Shield, or making pilot sushi with Ronin's giant-ass sword. The only major threat standing in your way is the Titans on the other team, or a bunch of annoying pilots bullying the shit out of you if they manage to position themselves well. The Titan adds a whole other layer to the game, as well as a unique experience that you can't quite find anywhere else, and that's what keeps me coming back. The weapons in Titanfall also make the game especially enjoyable. Most of these weapons make an appearance in Apex, so I don't need to go too far into detail with the weapons. However, they should have added the Cold War and softball to Apex. I miss Grenadier weapons. They're hilarious and they're fun. But I digress. I will say though that sniping someone with a Kraber in Titanfall 2 is probably the most satisfying feeling you will ever get from a kill. Especially if it's a nasty snipe that swats the pilot out of the air like a fly. Just like the weapons, the game itself was designed around the concept of having fun. Rather than preventing players that are newer to the game or not as skilled from dropping a Titan, Titanfall makes it so that everyone can drop their Titan at some point. Obviously, the more skilled players that can chain kills together without dying drop their Titans more often, but I'll find myself playing my Titan at least twice a game. Also, at the end of the game, the losers have an extra task of trying to escape the battlefield by entering a dropship while the winners try to pick them off. Although this is a simple addition to the postgame, it makes it sometimes more fun to be a loser rather than a winner because you have to try to make it in the dropship. Pilots that escape also receive the same awards as winners, so there isn't much of a downside to losing the game at all. With all that said, it may seem like Titanfall 2 is a perfect game, but there are still some flaws. One of the most notable gripes I have with this game is that campers, especially Spitfire campers, I hate Spitfire campers, fun fact, campers are insanely rewarded for being bad at the game, and I'll explain that. The low time to kill allows campers to get the freest kills, and oftentimes there isn't much that you can do about it. I find myself getting angrier at Titanfall than Apex because when people camp, it's insanely difficult and excruciatingly frustrating to deal with. And when I die, I don't feel like I was the one to blame. However, in Apex, I don't get as angry when I die because I can acknowledge that the other player outplayed me. Sure, there's camping in Apex too, but the higher time to kill makes it so that if you get shot a couple times, you'll have enough time to make it to cover before you end up dying, and you can just heal up and move on. Also, being a pilot when the enemy has Titans out can be annoying because you get absolutely obliterated by nearly any Titan that sees you, as long as the Titan doesn't have trash poopy butthole aim. Also, you don't get into as many gunfights with pilots while you're not in your Titan. The solution to this is to either play pilots versus pilots or Titan Brawl, but the minuscule player base only plays attrition, so you just have to deal with it. Sure, you can shoot a Titan to charge up your Titan meter, but that isn't as fun. I'd rather try to no-scope a pilot with my Kraber and make him look like a buffoon. The lack of new content can also make the game stale sometimes, but it's almost 5 years old at this point, so there isn't much we can do about it except hope for a Titanfall 3. Titanfall 2 is the gateway to my enjoyment of shooters, and it's one of the most fun games out there to sit down and play. The crippling player base and crippling mental health issues that campers have can make playing frustrating sometimes, but more often than not, it's a good time to play, especially if you're playing well. So what's the verdict? Which game is better? Unfortunately, I don't have a concrete answer. The game you enjoy more will depend on the type of player you are in shooter games. For example, I enjoy running fast, holding forward, not thinking, and lighting kids up like a firework, so Titanfall caters more to my tastes. For someone who has good shooter sense, is comfortable switching their playstyle for the given situation, and has good aim, I think that said person would enjoy Apex more. I will say that I think Apex has the potential to become even better than it already is in Season 9. The constant updates, massive player base, and new additions show great potential for what is to come in the future. With the addition of Arena Mode, which is very similar to Live Fire in Titanfall 2, which is one of my favorite game modes if you're on a good map, Apex shows that they can start taking baby steps to help merge Apex and Titanfall 2 closer together. The Season 9 update for Apex was one of the biggest updates that Apex has ever seen, and it's also what hooked me into the game. I will like to add, though, that I have enjoyed playing Apex. Even though I still think that Titanfall has the slight edge, I still enjoy playing Apex, and sometimes I even choose it over Titanfall. So where do you stand? Do you agree with what I said? Do you think that Apex is better? Or do you agree that Titanfall is better? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your opinions and touch on some things that I might have missed in my analysis of each game. But until then, I'm Cheddar Bean. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.